The FAQ of the new music revolution. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Value for Value podcast. This is the podcast for those digital content creators, for those listeners who want to support their favorite creators, about how they can do that using the value for value model and avoid things like paywalls, like ads and sponsorships and things like that. This is going to be a big episode because we are talking about the music revolution, and this is really continuing on from the last episode where I was highlighting what is value for value music and how musicians and artists are finding a new way to connect deeper with their audience and also get paid at the same time and avoid all of the crazy shenanigans that are going on with Spotify and kind of just the broken music industry that it is. So this episode I've titled How to Access V4V Music, the Hurdles to Supporting Musicians and Artists. So basically what I'm going to do is I'll give a rundown of the services, the apps that you can use both as a creator, as a DJ, as a musician, and as a listener, going from easiest to hardest. I'm then going to go over the kind of hurdles that we're seeing for V4V music, because it's not going to be super easy, at least at this stage. And then there's one big elephant in the room before we finally getting on to some boostograms, some tips, some other apps and services and highlights. So let's just dive into this show. And I'm going to also be doing this visually. So if you want to see this on YouTube, there'll be a video there. Let's start off with probably the easiest one, which anyone can come into, and this is Wavelake. And so Wavelake is a service that has popped up, which is really great for a listener, because if you go to wavelake.com, and this is wave without the E, so WAVLAKE.com, you can go up there, and basically one of the good things is you can really just start for easily listening and easy hosting of your music. So if you're a listener, you can just go there. There's got a Wavelake radio, there's got a party mode, there's a trending page, there's new releases. It's very easily clickable, and you can kind of click it and it will play even when you're going to other tabs. So that really nice experience of being able to continually listen to music even whilst using a website. Now, the other cool thing for this is for musicians. So let's say you're a musician, but perhaps you're not super tech savvy. Perhaps you don't really know, what is an RSS feed, how do podcasts work, things like this. Well, what you can go do onto here is just go onto the studio tab that they have. They've got a thing. Are you an artist, band, record label, or podcaster interested in uploading audio to Wavelake? You say yes. And then basically you just start going through the process of adding a new name, a band, social links that you can use. Once you go through that, you can then go into the audio tab and start uploading things. So very, very easy service to use. Some of the things that they have is it's instantly playable with the click, the point, the upload abilities. There's charts, there's leaderboards, comments for the listener as well. So if you go onto a song and you just want to check it out, you want to see what's happening on it, you can go there, and they've got a message board, they've got all sorts of different things going on with that. So very, very cool service to be able to use. Some limitations with it. It's not as smooth for something like boosting, or for like lacking a bit of deeper options for splits and some of the real technical things, which we've seen happening with podcasting, as I mentioned in the boostograms and the streaming episodes, 2 or 3 episodes before this. They don't have all of those technical capabilities as of yet, but they are getting closer and closer. So for those who are just interested in value for value music, probably the easiest place to go to at this current moment is Wavelake. Now, let's say you're a listener and you want to start having a bit more functionality with what you're doing, or at least just being able to search for the music, because it is kind of hard to know, okay, what is music that is value for value enabled? Where can I find this? Probably the easiest place to go for this is LN Beats. So this is Lima. I'm not sure what the use for N is for nunchucks, beats.com. And this is a website hosted by Stephen Bell, or created by Stephen Bell. And that's an important name because he is going to pop up quite regularly for this. And essentially it is a website where you can just go and see all the different types of music. So you can search by album. They've got just a big page here listing things down. And you can support your favorite artists within this website as well, because he's got a wallet functionality here, which connects with your Albi account. So you will probably need one of those if you want to support people as well, because that is very useful. So Albi is a extension that you add onto your browser, which allows you to send micropayments to people directly. So that's just a good place. It's really simple. It's probably more of a proof of concept and a testing ground for how music will show up in a feed. And it's rather than a pure music app. And so for those who are a listener and they're wondering, okay, where can I go to get the best experience, a Spotify or a YouTube Music like experience for listening to V4V music, where, I can click on the button, I can search, it'll have functionalities, it'll tell me more about the artist, it'll have that music first experience. Well, unfortunately, we don't really have those at the moment. This is also brand new, that we're probably going to be waiting for a little while until a really smooth application comes along. Now, what I can say is that there are some places where you can search for music quite nicely. So, for example, if you go onto fountain.fm, or Fountain, use the Fountain app on your phone, this will give you, there is a tab there where you can search for music. If you go to the Podcast Index website, there is a little button here which has music, so you can do that as well. If you go on to Curocaster, they have a music tab as well where you can click on that and it will populate some of the musicians up on the side here, so that's very helpful as well. Podfans has a search function and play functions, but the thing with all of these is that they're more suited for other things. They're more suited as a podcast app. And so we're really yet to have one which is a pure music first application experience, particularly on the mobile. There's none that are really, really suited for that. But as I said, it's relatively new. So we'll just stay with there. Now, let's get on to some of more technical things. So we talked about, Wavelake, we talked about Ellen Beats. Now the next one is Music Side Project. Once again, Stephen Bell has created this. And this is just basically a way for you to be able to construct your own RSS feed. So this is for the musician, the artist who has a bit of technical capabilities. They can probably use WordPress, for example. They know roughly, what a website is, how to upload audio to places, how to, do a couple of things on the internet. It's not too crazy. And basically, this is a way where it gives you a lot more functionality than something like Wavelake to be able to host your own music. So I did a little test album here for myself and started along the process. So the good thing is with this is he's got a great tutorial. So if you go to the tutorial, it's basically like easily build the RSS feed needed to value enable your music and make it available in a modern podcast app or music player. Choose your hosting solution. He's got WordPress. And so then he has just got from A to B how you set this up. And so it's got pictures, it's got real easy steps for you to be able to just go through, bam, bam, bam. This is how you put it onto your WordPress website. Okay, now come back to, Music Side Project, start adding the details needed for the album, the cover art, bios, things like this. And he's basically got this from all the way along how you do this. And it's really good. It's even me with my relatively lack of technical skills, I went, okay, I could definitely do this because it's just so laid out in a really, really easy manner. So the Music Side Project is definitely for those. It's kind of like that intermediate stage and is what is really, really helpful. Now we'll get on to the rather technical one. Once again, Stephen B with a thing called the splitkit.com. And this is utilizes something called the value time split. I didn't talk about this specifically in the latest episodes because it is rather technical. It is rather hard to get your head around. But basically, the value time split means as someone is listening to your show, the value block, so this is where you put your information for where you want money to be sent to you. So in this case, I've got in my value block for this show, 50% comes to me, 15% is going to go to a developer that I choose of. I've got some other multiple wallets which have some functionalities like allowing me to see boosts in different ways and just split up for other things. And then I send another 10% to developers. Now, what this means is I can have all of that information. So if you think of that as my album, or as me as the producer here, this is where I could then go, okay, but what if I would love to play some music, but have their information during that section when the song is playing? And so this is what the value time split does. It means that portion, that section where the money is coming to me, I can then change it so that while the song is playing, anyone who's listening, anyone who's boosting, that goes directly to the artist. Now, there's a lot of things under the hood here, which allow this all to happen. And so this is where the splitkit.com website comes in and allows you to kind of do this real time or after the fact. So if I was doing a live DJ sets, for example, so this is where it gets tricky, because you want to do this in a I suppose in a method where you can do this as a DJ. So most of the use cases I'm talking about right now are a DJ comes in, they have a list of songs that they want to play, and they're going to come in and say, all right, I want to be able to put this particular musician in as the person who's going to receive the money, and then that will actually go to them. So I'm just logging in as we speak to splitkit.com, and I'm going to try and show like a little demonstration here, live hand of how you might do this. And so basically what you do is you go onto this website and you say, create a new event. So this would be, okay, my podcast episode. So in particular, this is for someone who wants to do a DJ set or create a playlist, for example, using value for value music. And so I would come onto here and I would say, okay, I've got my default thing. So this is whenever I'm speaking, this is when I want someone else, I want the money to be coming to me. And then I've got a song. So let's just, I've picked here Cherry on Top by Ainsley Costello. And this already populates her information. So when I play this song, when I click the button, it will go to her. And so when it's active, all the money is now going to her. And you can kind of see, okay, if I just keep adding extra and extra songs into this, you will create a big list that will come down. And if you look at something like Behind the Schemes, they've got a big just list here showing, okay, this is how many songs they've got. And as they're playing their episode, they can just click buttons. So it's very much as if you'd imagine how a radio station does, where they've got a live radio station, they've got some songs queued up. When they stop speaking, they press the button and the song starts playing immediately. And then you can have those, fade in and fade out effects at the same time. Song plays, they can go to the bathroom, they can do whatever in that time period. When the song is coming back and finishing, they then click the button to go back to themselves. So as they are the top person, so now it's like the microphone is going to them again. And this is when we go, okay, cool, sweet. Now we'll be able to have not just my microphone on, but also the money coming to me while my microphone is on. So very, very cool thing here, the splitkit.com, very, very useful. And Stephen has created something that is, it's a really powerful thing. And you would probably want to use this in connection with another thing he's got, which is called sovereign feeds. But that is getting into the really, really technical RSS, be able to manually edit your feed, writing in code and things like this. So we'll leave it as that for the moment. So it's basically a switchboard. The cool thing is a lot of apps are starting to support this functionality. So if you look at all the, I was meant to list, I think I listed most of them. So Fountain, Podcast Index, Curiocaster, Podfans have those abilities to filter for music, but they also support the value time split. So if you're listening on one of those as a listener, wanting to give back to the musicians, to the artists, and to the DJ, They support this functionality where it does all this switching behind the scenes. And then there's some others like Podcast Guru, Podverse, and Cast-O-Matic also supporting this, or will be supporting this in the near future. So this is super, super cool. And I guess getting over one of the hurdles that I will be talking about in a second, which is the technology. The technology is really hard. So what I'm trying to do with this episode in particular is just say, hey, there is some easy services you can use. There's some harder ones if you want the more in-depth, the juicy, the real meat of what's going to go on. This is going to completely revolutionize music, but it's hard at this stage. It still requires some working. It still requires a bit of playing around. You definitely need to be playing around with these things because it's not super, super easy as of yet. But I'm surprised by how quickly this is all starting to move. It's very, very cool in that aspect. So let's jump on to, I suppose, some of the hurdles that I think value for value music is going to start encountering. There's quite a few things which are, I suppose, just going to crop up and which will need to be addressed. The first one I've already somewhat mentioned is technology. So using the value time split is really hard for you producing it, creating it, and then also for the applications such as all of these podcast players and any future music players to do that kind of coding in the background to really acknowledge all of these things, to use micropayments. The internet's been around forever, and we still haven't had that ability until really recently with, I think, podcasting. Like I mentioned, podcasting 2.0 is kind of one of the first use cases where you see, okay, micropayments really do seem to actually be doing something. They do seem to be working. So the skills to be a great musician do not necessarily overlap with being a good user of technology. It doesn't equate in my mind that the best musicians are going to be able to jump onto these things early. They're probably going to have to wait until the tools are available or they're really, really motivated. Now, the good thing is that money is a pretty good motivation. And so as we talked about in the last episode, if you're only getting $2 per CPM and you can bump this up into something closer to like 20 or 10x the amount, as Ainsley Costello did, and as some other musicians are having some hit songs, as you can see on Wavelake, and you can see the amounts that they're earning on there. You go, okay, for the amount of plays that they're getting, they're probably getting closer to 100 CPM or certainly more than the $2 which Spotify says, and which is probably a lot lower considering just some of the things that I've heard from musicians over the years. So it's going to take time for someone to build that one perfect app or that one perfect thing, which is, super easy. Upload your music, put in your thing. It's going to rely on some more Bitcoin adoption. It's going to rely on a fair few things, but there's a lot behind the surface here, and it's really, really going to kick off. Another thing that I see popping up, which is not technology related, is or it's kind of in that mid ground, which is not honoring the splits. So things can just straight up change. So for example, in my feed, in my own RSS feed, the Value for Value show, I've switched it across multiple times. So you would have heard in season 2, I was saying, for this episode, 30% or 15%, I can't remember how much I put, is going to this podcast because I used clips from their episode. I was doing these things. When I changed host, all of that got wiped out, or it's in the background, and so I need to get to it. But that's going to take like 4 hours of effort to really reconstruct all of that, and no one's boosting those episodes as of this moment, so I don't feel bad because it's not going to there. But you can kind of see when things change, when things break, and there's money on the line, people can get upset about that. They can get, like, you told me you were going to put this in, or there was an expectation this would happen. And all of this is built on the promise of V4V, on the premise of V4V, which is, I provide something of value and you provide it back to me voluntarily. All of this is voluntarily. And I think there can be some things which will happen where people will not recognize that this is really voluntary, and there is expectations, but they're not contractual expectations. You know, if you sign on to Spotify and you give them your bank details for them to be able to send you the money that they have generated from playing your music, and they accidentally, you know, forget it, or like, whoops, we deleted your bank details and we'll get around to it in like 3 months' time. You know, that's probably not acceptable. In this case, it is kind of acceptable because, you know, I've got so much on. I've got tons of things to do. I don't have time to check my feed all the time and make sure, are your details correct? And if you update your details, if you change your value details, that's going to require me to change things as well. So a lot of this is going to be on reputations, on relationships kind of in this phase. And it is probably just worth noting that if you're coming in expecting real polished, I put something here and it's going to stay like this forever, like, don't expect that. It's going to change. Things will happen, both technologically speaking and on the people side of things, where there is, the money might not go where you think it will go. Let's just put it that way. And we can see, so Wavelake, for example, they don't honor the splits that are already in episodes. So Abel and the Wolf, for example, for each of their different tracks, they have separate things going to, this person created episode art for this track. They've got, this person also collaborated. They provided some drums, or they provided some tunes or some vocals. They get a split, and they organized all of that pre-hand. So, this is how much you'll get. The thing is, Wavelake doesn't acknowledge that at the moment. So if you send the money through Wavelake to them at the moment, it doesn't capture that. So just one of those things where it's like, okay, just be careful. Just acknowledge this stuff is not going to be super on the point as of this moment. The last little hurdle that I had here was, I suppose, just the explaining, evangelizing, learning. I saw some discussions on the Podcast Index, Mastodon, talking about, everyone's excited about this. There's excitement, it's palpable in the air, but we just have to acknowledge and be careful about, okay, you don't want to come across as a scammy, I suppose, in a way. And when it's involving money, when it's involving, Bitcoin, which is internet money, there's a lot of radars which can get pinged off. And I experienced this sometimes when I was trying to explain this concept to people, and I was trying to explain it to, he was kind of a crypto guy, and I was trying to explain all of this to him, but because there's like 5-8 different moving pieces, it's so hard to get it across. So what I would just say is, I found it's best to ask questions, to listen more, to ask, how is, something like Spotify serving you? How is the music industry serving you? And I'm pretty sure most of them will say, like, it's not serving me that well. These are the problems. And then I would just kind of go, here's some things that might interest you. There's this way to do it in a decentralized manner where, as long as you retain the rights to your music, you can put this online, and you can have people kind of voluntarily paying you, and, you'll earn about the same, if not more. You still need to create a really good song. You still need to have good music, but there's ways to do this which are not through the traditional manner. And then just kind of leave it at that. Don't get too caught up in the excitement and being like pushing it in people's faces, because that just generally doesn't tend to work so well. So yeah, that's the other small hurdle. Now, the big one, the big elephant in the room, is that we're dealing with money here. And history has shown that the music industry gets pretty pissed off when you start eating into their lunch. And so not just pretty pissed off, but like big time pissed off. Let's just look at Napster in the early days of the internet, or the early 2000s. They revolutionized music by being able to have peer-to-peer sharing of digital audio. Done through torrenting, and all you would have to do is go online and you could access all of this music. You wouldn't have to pay for it, and it's just available at your fingertips. There was some tech things happening there at the moment. You had to know how to use something like LimeWire or the Pirate Bay or things like this, or go to Napster. It was a little bit before my time, so I didn't have the experience of actually using it. But you could see, what did the music industry do from that? Well, they started suing, and so they went after Napster. They went after to individual people. I'm pretty sure there was a story of a kid who, he probably went a bit overboard and I think downloaded, 13,000, 100,000 songs or something from there. And they, just to make an example of him, they went after him. But you can see there's a lot of things that are going to be behind the surface, and there's a lot of people with really big money and with lawyers who, if they feel that you are circumventing their industry, if they feel like you're cheating them out of money, they're going to come for you. They will come for you. And so let's just all take a moment here to be sensible. If you are, and we'll go from most egregious to the least. If you are straight up ripping off a song of Metallica and putting it as your own music on Wavelake or on one of these places, and putting in your own personal Bitcoin Lightning address and getting money for someone else's work, that's wrong. That's a plain bad thing. You should not be doing that. And that's, unfortunately, some people are going to do this because everyone always does this, but that's the kind of behavior which is just straight up not acceptable. That's not value for value because you didn't create the value. You stole that off from someone else. What if you want to do a cover of a song? Okay, well, this is where it's getting into murky area, and you would probably say, if you're accepting money from this at the moment, that's not a great idea to do because there are all sorts of IP copyright laws and they can get pretty nasty. And if these people find out that's what you're doing, you're getting money from a cover that you've done of someone else. You don't own the rights to that music because you have used you're stealing someone else's copyright or IP. I personally got some issues with that, but this is the way the system's set up at the moment. That's a bad thing. And if you're going to be putting that up online, it's getting money for that, once again, you're probably going to get some questions and people knocking on your door if it turns out to be, substantial portions of money. What if you want to include a sample? I mean, there's going to be a lot of questions coming up regarding what is right and what is fair and what is actually yours. And at these small days, let's all kind of be sensible and just say, you need to have created the song, and from kind of like start to finish. And the higher you go up, if you're questioning yourself, should I do this? The answer is probably no. Should I steal Metallica's music and put it up? No. Should I do a cover of this? A bit iffy? Probably no. Should I use a sample? Yeah, maybe, but probably no. So all of this will get sorted out. And it sounds a bit gloomy, and people are likely to get hurt in this, and it will become a big thing. So I would just say, as an individual, if you are, especially for the musician, for the creator, just just be a little bit careful. Just at least put a little thought into, if you're uploading something and you're iffy about it, have a real hard think about if you want to do that. So, it sounds a bit gloomy, it sounds like sucks, but I think this is really going to be a foundational switch to an industry that does have so many problems. So this is where it is like super exciting, because you can see there's so much stuff going on. There is so many people excited about this, both on the listener side and on the creator, on the musician side. So I think this is going to really, really change a lot of things, and it's going to be very, very cool. So I'm going to jump now onto the Boostergram Lounge.
Welcome to the Value for Value Boostergram Lounge.
This has been a pretty good week for me, and I've just got some interesting things to show up. So I'm going to show up on my screen here at the moment. So we had Cole McCormick coming in red hot, 5492, his favorite number, sent using Fountain. He says, music and podcasts is a legit culture change. Excited to see what happens when bigger hosting sites integrate SplitKit and other tech so people can just click and go. yes, bang on Cole. I 100% agree. We also have another little section here from Guy Smiley, and he says V4V, and then he just puts in a link, and it was like, okay, what's this? And it's wavelake.com/track, and then it's got a whole string of digits and numerals, and I was like, oh, okay, what's this thing? Let me go check it out. And what it actually was is he is the musician or an artist, and he has a song which has been pretty popular. It's called Heads Up, from Incoming from the Airwaves, by the band Right in Progress, I believe. Or I might have, yeah, I believe that's right. And you can just see here, they've earned 159,000 sats, got 17 supporters on Wavelake. I've heard that song played a couple of times on on some of these DJ sets, which I will be talking about soon. And you can really see, okay, there's some really exciting, cool stuff coming on, and I would just recommend checking out that song in particular. Check up Heads Up and just rock out to it. So we've got another one here. Now this was from Anonymous, but it might be Gene Bean, because I know Customatic was having this. This was from Podverse, so I will just leave it as Anonymous. Might need to look at the time split, and so they sent in 807 sats. I think that's probably wrong, so I'm guessing that's probably a boob boost. I'm guessing that's 8,008 sats, because my linkages to these messages kind of got broken for a little bit, so I'm just trying to do as best as I can here. Then they also say, yeah, RSS, woo! So that was also sent through using Podverse, and that was 1614, which, yeah, I think was 10x that amount, so probably 16,000. So, woof, thank you, my friend, very cool. And I can also see I've had a couple of come in here. Booberry, and he says, split for life, 17,776. Booyah! Sent using the Boost CLI. And then he asks, is there a chat room with an 8,888? No, there isn't at the moment, mate. It's on my to-do list. I've got so many things to do, but I will be creating this, and I want to do it so I can do this across the various shows. So not at this particular moment, unfortunately, but it is coming. I will spend the time to make that happen, and to do that kind of properly. So thank you everyone for sending in a boost. You might be asking, what is a boost? Well, a boost is a message that you send within the podcasting app of your choice, or you can even do it on the desktop using something like Albi, the Albi extension that I was talking about. And you can send in a message directly to this show to help support me in my efforts to do this. He said, I can also see here on the podcast index Mastodon, he says, if you add the boost bot to the split, boosts will appear as replies in the thread. Okay, also another thing that I need to get onto. There was one extra little bit that I wanted to put in here, and this was from Cardboard Giraffe. And I saw this on the fountain. It wasn't a boost that was sent in per se, but it did just get me, I think shows the excitement. And so I'm just going to read this here. Ever since I was a kid, I got way more excited about finding new music than anyone around me. I thought, how sick would it be to be able to have my own radio channel where I could share the stuff I get excited about without having to shove it in the faces of my friends. Once again, talking about not shoving it and not being too excited. Now could be the time. And then he's got a little emoji looking sideways face. I'm not a techie person though, so I'm really hoping there are some simple ways to do this right. I really would appreciate any suggestions for ELI5, which is explain like I'm 5, level learning material, thanks in advance, peace emoji sign. So that's part of what I'm doing for this episode. So I really hope this is an episode that'll help you out, Cardboard Giraffe, and I'm doing the extra effort to put this on YouTube as well to be able to show people and to be able to have an easy link so that you can actually have a visual representation of what's going on as well. So that is the Boostagram Lounge. Thank you everyone for sending a message in. Once again, if you want to stream sats to me and to the person who I'll be giving 15% to this week and to 10% to other developers, really do appreciate that. And it does help to support this show, support me. And if the value for value show is not getting value for value support, then I'm kind of doomed. None of my shows will. Oh, geez. So, thank you everyone for boosting that in, and you'll see in the chapter art all the people who boosted in. I put them in the chapter art for this section, so as a visual thanks as well. Okay, let's get on to some tips, and as I was saying, like just please keep it above board. If you're iffy about uploading the music, you probably shouldn't do it. Don't put it in your normal podcast feed. If you're not willing to have a band come after you as well. And I suppose this is just getting to the value for value ethos. You can take this music, and the thing with value for value is it is this upfront thing. There are no contractual obligations. When you upload something to Spotify, I'm sure that there is a big long thing that they say which says, we can do this with your music, and this is what can and can't be done. And, there's no expectation. There's expectations of, we won't put an ad midway through your song. Now, what is probably going to happen is, as people are creating these DJ shows, and I'll explain some of them in a second, there's probably going to be some things where it's like, oh, I don't like this person, but they're playing my music. And it's what you just have to acknowledge is, if you're going down this road as a musician, as a creator, as an artist, you're giving this music up for the wider people to just appreciate and enjoy. And how they do that, how they create an experience around that music, you might not like. And so if you kind of come after someone for doing that, like I said, it's probably going to be in this reputational and relationships phase. If you don't like someone and what they've done to your music in terms of perhaps they put a cut in it, perhaps they spoke over a section as they were fading in or fading out, or perhaps they put it on a show where you didn't think it should be, or you didn't like being associated with that, it's better to reach out directly to them. It's better to be compassionate, be understanding, and just recognize this is the value for value model. If you are putting something out there, people are going to value it in different ways, and they're going to chop it, and they're going to create it, and they're going to do different things to it. And the important point to recognize also is that there is some expectations. If you put value for value music up as a DJ and you're creating things, you should put that in as the value split in your own feed. And this is where some kind of negotiation type things might happen. Adam Curry, for example, he puts in 95%. So when he's playing a song, 95% of it goes to the artist, 5% goes to him. And I think he does that kind of just to be able to see the messages that are coming in and to be able to have some tallying and perhaps, a little bit for his own effort during that time. If you feel that's not acceptable, if you feel it should be 100%, reach out to him, and he might say, no, I'm not going to do that. So I probably won't play my music on your show or your music on my show. There's all these sorts of things. So I just want to reiterate. My tip is, don't come in guns blazing. Be compassionate. And if you have a problem with what someone's doing with your music, if you have a problem with how your music is being presented, if you have a problem with any of this stuff, just be compassionate, be calm, be rational, and not cause issues that could be solved with a simple email or a simple message or something like that. So that's just my little tip here. I do want to give this is the normal app or service highlight section. Look, if you want to keep up to date with a lot of this stuff, what's going on, I would just recommend checking out the Podcast Index Mastodon. So if you go to podcastindex.social, you'll be able to see that. You'll be able to create an account. Relatively easy to use, has a kind of Twitter-like feed, or X, but it's I actually prefer it much more because it's chronological. So you don't get blasted with all of these updates, details, and crazy different things. So there's that one there. And I just want to list out some of the shows which are actually already starting to do these kind of radio DJ sets. So I talked about the Boostergram Ball with Adam Curry beforehand. So there's a website you can go to there. He's got some details about how you can tweet, share that out, and also just some of the apps that you can use which support the show, supporting the music. So basically all of the ones I listed. Podcast Addict as well is on there. And, he's got a list of music on today's shows, and he's got links out to those shows, which will take you to the Wavelake album. So that's one definitely just there. There's another show which is called James's Random Music Show Thing. So this is from James Cridlin, the host of Pod News. He's got that one there, so it's a very much an experimental type thing. There's a couple that I found out just today in preparation for this show. So there's one called the Black Cat Music Project, Black Cat Music Podcast by Riley, and he plays some songs here. He's only got one episode out at the moment, but that was released just today. So very, very cool. Another one here by called It's a Mood, and this is by Mike Newman, I believe. And he's got 4 episodes out at this very moment. And you can just see, if you go onto somewhere like Podverse, it's pretty cool because you can kind of see the chapters and the different songs that are popping up in here. He's got his bridge, the different songs that he's got. So very, very cool. His own value for value section in there. Most of these are typically about half an hour to an hour long at the moment, but you can imagine these getting longer in the future. Now, Behind the Schemes is a podcast, but I can see that they have, and this is by Booberry, who was boosting in just before, so definitely check out Behind the Schemes. Theirs is probably one of the most unique podcasts I've ever seen. They are absolutely wild on there. It's super, super cool. They are on the cutting edge of all of these things. And they had an episode here called Before the Schemes, which was on the 21st of August. So that was 2 days ago. And if you go on to here, now for them, he didn't put any DJ type things in this. So this is more of a playlist of things that he enjoyed. And there's just a whole bunch of songs here. So if you're going through that, that's pretty cool. I heard this one, Dope. Let's see if I can click on it and it'll give me more information. So it was Dope by the Hurling Pixels, I think. If I go to the show notes here, it'll give me some more details. Yeah, Hurling Pixels, Dope. That was a pretty cool song. I quite enjoyed that. So, it's a great way to discover new music, to find new things. So there's that one there as well. There's another show called The Fairly Fun Show. And now you'll notice all of these, they only have like 2 or 3 episodes or 4 because all of this stuff was invented like 2 weeks ago. It's crazy. So that was by Silas Vogt. And once again, he's got a mix of kind of the show's songs. I didn't actually play this one, so this could just be another a straight up just, this is the songs, playing them one after the other. Although I do see some pretty big breaks, so he might just not have his own sections in there as well. So if you want to experience what it is like to have a DJ set of this value for value music, there's a fair few suggestions right there for you. So we're coming into the end section here, and who am I going to give a mad shout out to for all of this? 15% for this episode. I can't go past Stephen B. This dude has created 5 different components that are all somewhat essential to this. The split kit is super, super critical. Ellen Beats, just as a usual thing to use. Curocaster, so you can appreciate the music and send in things and participate in this on the, he's basically like at all ends of the spectrum. He is creating things. He's helping with, the music side project. He's helping people upload this. Like, he's just doing so much. So 15% to Stephen Bell. What an absolute mad lad, Chad, for doing and creating all of this. So appreciated. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there for today. Thank you everyone for helping do this. Once again, I would just recommend checking out the Podcast Index Mastodon if you want to get in contact with people. And just for me, this is a value for value show. I do all of this free of charge, just put it all out there. All I want to do is help people create things to connect deeper with their audience. And, if you can get paid for that as well, that is just absolutely sublime and perfect. So would just recommend, if you want to help participate in that, send in something for me. And once again, value is very subjective. It doesn't have to be a boost. You can send in a suggestion, participating in the live chat like Booberry has done, or in the live experience. You can also participate by giving me recommendations for music that you've found that you really enjoyed, or other DJ sets that you want me to call out. Please, send those in through to me. If you want to, recommend some better audio for me, I actually have put up my sound panels all around the room, so hopefully my audio is sounding a little bit better than a couple of the previous episodes. And there's just so many things. What is valuable is very subjective. So all of this is just super cool, super exciting, super new, and I do just recommend, if you want to send this out as well. So I have done a video of this. So if you want to be able to recommend this in an easy link to someone, I will put a link down in the show notes of the video that I've created for this to be able to upload and to be able to send that so that they can kind of visually see what's going on as well. So just recommend that as well. And other than that, I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. I hope you're excited about music, excited about the future. In the next episode, I'm probably going to have to do it a little bit different because I've got a friend's wedding this weekend, so I'm not going to have as much time to prep. So I'll be doing an episode on the common V4V misconceptions for the next episode. So get excited for that. And until the next time, ciao for now. Kyrin out.